Good afternoon. It's a very hot day here, about 80 degrees Fahrenheit in Africa. We're looking for a leopard, and this is Safari Live. Hello, everyone from Glengston and Bartlett Community Partners. To learn that, it was all quite difficult this afternoon. My name is James, and it's wonderful to have you with us here on safari in South Africa. That's at the southern tip of the African. Is our first animal of the day. It's not a leopard, but it's a Nyala. And some of its friends were shouting. They were going, how, how, how. And that's what they do when they see a predator. And a predator, of course, something that wants to eat them. Now, we know that there was a little leopard around here earlier today, and we know that Nyalas don't like leopards, so that's what we're looking for at the moment. While we're going to look for them, please ask us any questions that you want to, anything at all about Africa or the animals that we see, and we'll do our best to answer them for you. My friend Brent is on foot. He's just behind us, and he's heading down into this area to help us. He's walking, looking for the predator, and then Tristan has gone off to the south of the reserve. Maybe he'll find some elephants. Let's go and find out what's happening with Brent right now.
Hello and welcome to the bushwalk. Guess what we're doing? We're tracking leopards on foot. This morning I saw a leopard lying right up here. Now we're going to try find where that leopard went. So if you've got any questions, please ask them. I look forward to hearing from them. I've got my big stick in case I get into trouble, but also I've got Rexon, who's walking around making sure we don't stumble into trouble. And of course I have Craig, aka Batman, on camera. Let's go see if we can find some leopards on foot. Isn't this so exciting? So, I think the leopards, as it's got hotter and hotter today, have moved down to a little deeper riverbed where there's some nice cool sand to lie on. So we want to be walking very carefully. And I'm looking into the shade. It's still really hot, over 80 Fahrenheit. So I think the leopard's going to be having a snooze. But we could stumble upon them at any moment. Now, this is one of my most favorite things to do in the world, track big cats on foot. Now, I'm listening for lots of different things, and I'm listening for birds to make a noise. They might tell me where the leopards are. I'm listening for a Nyala and impala to make a noise. But speaking of birds, let's go see what James has got.
This is amazing, everybody. Now I'm going to ask you to very carefully just think about what we're going to see. It's going to be a little bit difficult for you. This is a bird. It's an eagle, but it's caught something which can be quite nasty to look at. If you look carefully, Viam's going to show you now. He's on camera. It's caught a little mongoose. You see that? Now, a mongoose, unfortunately, that mongoose is dead, and that Wahlberg's eagle is going to eat the mongoose, and I know that can be quite difficult to see. But, of course, these eagles have to eat as well. They're allowed to eat in the same way, you know, that you and I eat meat sometimes. So it is that the animals out here that were designed to eat meat, they also have to eat meat. And so I think this very clever bird just killed this mongoose right now, while we were sitting just looking at that Nyala. Isn't that a clever bird? Mongoose not easy to catch, very difficult to catch actually. Now he's going to start eating. It's a baby mongoose. That's why it was caught. It wasn't clever enough to get out of the way. Isn't that amazing? I'll tell you what I'd like you to do, everybody. I'd very much like you to try and tell me what this makes you feel. Can you ask your teacher, or tell your teacher, to tell me what this makes you feel? Do you feel like this bird is very clever, it's very strong, it's very powerful, it's very amazing? Or do you feel, oh, nature's quite cruel, shame, the poor baby mongoose? Tell me what you think you feel, and make it very short so we can get through quite a lot of answers if possible. And sometimes nature's difficult to watch, isn't it? Sometimes it's very difficult to watch something like this because, of course, we don't like it when a bird like this has a problem. So let's just watch it for a little bit longer and see what happens while your answers come in. And this is also a good place to be because we can also scan down, looking down below the dam wall here to see if that leopard doesn't come through. Now, you've just met Brent. Brent is walking down through there where VM's showing you. There we go. He's walking through there. And with any luck, that leopard is definitely close by. We're sure of that because the Nyala were shouting. They wouldn't have shouted at a bird like this. Now, Ellie, there are two questions here that you've asked, basically, although you've only asked one. You say, do these birds only eat rodents? This bird doesn't only eat rodents. It will eat rodents like squirrels, but it will also eat lizards. It will also eat other birds sometimes. But a mongoose isn't a rodent. A mongoose is a little carnivore. Now, one day, when you get a little bit older, you'll learn about how the different animals relate to each other. But a mongoose is not a rodent. It's a kind of carnivore. In other words, it's closely related to dogs and cats. I'm just going to sneak a little bit forward so that the tree doesn't keep falling in front of the bird's face. I just hope it doesn't fly away. Shall we try that, Vim? Right, thank you, Kingston School. Great answer from you. 5 of you said this is amazing. 5 of you said this is really sad, but most of you said, well, this is life. Well, it is life, isn't it? And sometimes life can be really quite difficult out here in nature. Well, and for human beings as well. Isn't that beautiful? Now, this bird is called a Wahlberg's eagle, and it doesn't always live here. Sometimes it lives up in North Africa. When it's winter time here, this clever bird goes all the way up to North Africa so it can stay in the summertime. Now, Constance, you're wondering what eagles eat other than other animals. Eagles, Constant, are carnivores, so they only eat other animals, but sometimes they eat small animals and sometimes things that we don't think of as animals. Termites, for example, are animals, and eagles eat termites quite a lot. And they eat ants sometimes, and they'll eat other kinds of insects, but those are all animals. Jada, you want to know what this bird's real name is. Okay, so you're listening carefully, Jada. It's named after a chap called Wahlberg, and so it's called a Wahlberg's eagle. This particular bird doesn't actually have a name, although because they always come back to the same place every year, so they go to North Africa, like I said, for the winter time, and they come back here for the summer, and was it summer where we are now? And because they come back to the same place, I've given this one and its partner, they come back as a couple. I can't tell which one's the male and which one's the female because it's almost impossible unless they're sitting next to each other. So I call this one Mrs. Wahlberg or Mr. Wahlberg, but it doesn't actually have a name like you have a name. Calling it a Wahlberg's eagle is like calling you a human being. It's just the species that it is. Well, Brian, you got a very good question. You said, oh, you see how tired he is? You want to know how strong this eagle is? I don't know how strong this eagle is exactly, Brian, but I'll tell you a story about another kind of eagle. The biggest eagle that we get here is called a martial eagle. And the martial eagle is about twice the size of this eagle. This eagle is about 1.5 feet tall. And, sorry, I just need to turn my radio down. And so call this one about 1.5 feet long. The big martial eagle is about 2.5 feet tall, 2.5 to 3 feet tall, so it's a very big bird. And it's able to sit on a man's hand. So if you can imagine a man's arm, you know how strong your arm is, right? If it sits on your arm, it can squeeze hard enough to actually break the bones of a man's arm. That's how strong they are, just by sitting there and squeezing. So they've got very, very, very strong muscles in their feet, and that helps them to kill their prey. And I just wonder if this one's not going to perhaps start eating. Oh, look, it's starting to eat. Alan, you say the bird is strong. Ryan, you say it's amazing. And Lydia, I've forgotten what you said. What did Lydia say it was? Look at that. And very clever. You see, eagles are clever. Very clever. I would agree with all of you. Strong, amazing, and clever. Now, why do you think it's not eating? Well, I'll tell you. It's not eating because it's looking around the place, thinking about what could come and steal the meal from it. Now, one of you wants to know how many times a day it will eat. And a bird like this doesn't have to eat every day, actually. That meal will probably last it about 2 days. It seems to have seen something. Look, it's looking around the place. I'm just watching the air. I'm looking around to see if there isn't something that might be coming to steal it. So another bird might try and steal this bird's prey. It too won't be happy to see the leopard. If it saw the leopard, and I can't see the leopard anywhere. Oh, look, I think it's going to be sick. Watch, watch, watch. That is amazing. Jayan, you say, what noise does the mongoose make? They actually make a very specific noise. And when they saw this eagle coming, and when its family saw, unfortunately, the little one being taken away, they make a noise like this. They go, tickety, tickety. And that's called an alarm call. Remember I told you about the kudu, at least the Nyala's alarm calling when they saw the little leopard? Well, that's what a bird like, at least a mongoose, does when it sees a bird coming to get it. It goes tickety, tickety, and that means it's a message to all the other mongoose to get out of the way and move away quickly. Right, let's head across to Brent and find out if he's managed to find that little leopard yet.
Well, we found some footprints down in the riverbed, but I think those are from last night. So what we're doing is I'm coming to check in case those leopards didn't head further to the south. So that's why I'm on the road now. It's the best place for me to see footprints. So I'm going to go very carefully. And remember, I'm always listening for any noise that might tell me where they are. So there we go. If I find a nice footprint, I'll show you. So we're not sure whether they went north or south. Lacey would like to know how fast do leopards run. They can do 24 meters per second, Lacey, so very fast. Now, hello, Kaylee. Kaylee would like to know, are leopards mammals? Indeed they are, Kaylee. Just like us, and whales, and dolphins, and impala, and a Nyala. Okay, so, lying in the tree over there. So we're just making sure there are no footprints here. Hi, Caleb. Caleb's wondering, do leopards eat eagles? Well, Caleb, leopards are opportunists. So like any other predator, if they're able to catch an eagle, yes, they will eat it. Okay, come on, footprints. I don't think that Franklin's upset enough. I want to listen to his call. So if there's a leopard coming close, he's going to go chat, 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 when the leopard gets really close. But he's not carrying on, so we're going to move on. Now, what he's doing is warning all his family and other birds around that there's a leopard close by. Okay, now this is the area where I need to look very carefully to make sure there's no tracks crossing the road. So there's the tree that they were lying in, over there. Now we want to have a look here. Hi Kaylee. Kaylee's wondering why leopards lay in the branches of trees. Well, Kaylee, because down here on the ground it's quite hot, and there's also lots of biting flies and bugs. So if they get a little bit higher in the tree, there's a bit more wind, it cools them down, and there's not so many bugs that bite them. Come on, leopard tracks. Now Min is wondering, what is the population of leopards here? Well, in our area that we traverse, we see on average about 10 or 12 leopards regularly, but there's probably about 20 throughout the whole area. But in the greater Kruger, there's about 2,000 to 2,500 in the 8.5 million acres. Just checking carefully here. Now, Colin's wondering, what about this habitat makes it livable for the leopards? Well, Colin, it's almost ideal leopard habitat. And the main reason it is because there's lots to eat. There's lots of antelope to eat, and leopards like antelope and need a lot of antelope. So, and there's also nice trees, little river systems, so good places for them to give birth, hide their cubs, good places to store their food when they catch it. So that's what makes it a good place. There's a whole bunch of different variables that make this place an excellent habitat for leopard. Now, these leopards have given me a puzzle to solve this afternoon, so we're going to keep trying to solve the puzzle while we do that. You guys haven't got to meet Tristan yet, so let's go say hello.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome from myself, Tristan, and Dave on camera this afternoon. I hope it's really, really good to have you joining us, especially all the schools that are joining us this afternoon. Really happy to have you guys along for the ride. So we're just coming to check our hyena den. I know Jamie was scratching around for hyenas this morning and looking, and we're just coming to see, and success. Inside the hole, it seems that we have a hyena. And there we go. So there is Gwen, who is one of the members of the clan that we see in this area, and I thought it might be a little bit warm and that we wouldn't actually get to see her, so I'm really happy that she is there. You can see she's tucked herself up inside that hole. It's probably very nice and shady inside there, and there's a beautiful wind that is coming over our backs and will be going straight into that hole, so it is a perfect place for a hyena to be sleeping, waiting for the heat to dissipate before going out this evening and starting to look around for food. Now, we think that she is using this as a den site. She does have 2 young ones, but they seem to be quite skittish and haven't really spent too much time around the den, and they are quite old, so they're not really bound to it. So sometimes when we arrive here, they do walk off or jog off. So we've been trying to spend a bit of time and get them relaxed and get them used to our presence. As you can see, this female doesn't care in the slightest. She's completely at home with the vehicles. She's not worried at all, and she has a very sleepy face. It's obviously been a long night and a very hot day, and so now it is time to have a nice nap. But look at those ears. You can see the ears are twitching slightly, and that is because of all the flies that are flying around here. There's lots of little flies. You can see them landing on her face, and so they are going to be irritating her, and that's why the ears will flick a little bit. So, Brandon, you were asking, what do hyenas eat? Well, hyenas have quite a varied array of food items that they will go for. They go for all kinds of different animals. So they are meat eaters, but they will either scavenge, which means they will go and try and steal from other animals like lions or leopards or cheetah, even the wild dogs. And if they do not scavenge from those, they do hunt for themselves. And when they're hunting, depending on the size of the clan and the number of hyenas that are together, will determine what they go after. I have seen hyenas going after fully grown male giraffe, big buffalo bulls, but generally they will go after small antelope like impalas and bushbuck and those kind of things. Now, Cameron, since we were looking at those big ears of that hyena, you would like to know why they have such big ears. So the reason why they have big ears is so that they can hear very, very well. These guys rely on their hearing to be able to find animals or to find carcasses that they can then potentially steal. So when they hear other animals chasing something or killing it, that animal that's being killed will make a lot of noise. And so with those big ears, they're able to trap lots of sound in the ears, and they can then go and find what's making all that noise and then potentially either get a meal or try and chase out any intruders that might be in that area. So that is why they have those big ears. It's basically like a big satellite dish that catches all the sound waves. Well, yeah, the hyenas laugh because of a communication to one another. So when they are laughing like that, it is a sign that they are very, very excited. So that's when they are in a stage of excitement and they want all the others to come in and join and to see what's going on. So it's basically serving as a way of communicating to the others that they've found food and they've found something to be able to eat. And so all the others can then come in and help this one try and get that food. So it's more out of a communication than anything else, and they have quite a varied array of sounds that they make. Sometimes they'll laugh, sometimes they will howl a little bit. She's very sleepy. So while she's lying in her den like this, and part of the reason why they use dens is because they do have predators. So Jill, you were asking if they have predators. There are a lot of animals out here that will try and chase and go after hyenas, not because of food, but because they see a hyena as a threat. So you can imagine these hyenas, especially if it's a female with little babies, so whether it be lion or leopard, wild dogs, cheetah, the hyena is a threat to those little babies. It will go after those babies and try kill them. And so you'll find that the lions and leopard will try and chase hyenas whenever they can, and if they catch them, they will sometimes even kill them. But you'll find with the cats is that they're a little bit nervous of going after hyenas because hyenas have very strong jaw and they're able to bite very, very hard. And so the predator, like lions, have to be very, very careful because if they get bitten on their leg, it could be quite a lot of damage that can be done. So sometimes you'll find a little standoff and then they chase them for a little bit and leave them alone. It's really only the male lions that will actually go after hyenas and try and catch them and maim and hurt them. So you can see she's very, very sleepy, and it's probably why Becca wants to know if these hyenas hibernate in the winter. Well, Becca, they don't hibernate in the winter. The animals down here in South Africa are pretty much active all year round, particularly the mammals. They have digestive systems that work very, very quickly, and especially the hyenas, they have a strong stomach acid and they tend to digest things too fast. So for them, they wouldn't be able to hibernate because they would end up probably starving to death. So hyenas are active all the way out throughout the winter. You'll find them coming out and moving around at night, and they then look for food pretty much every single day. I've seen hyenas with big fat full bellies still rushing in on carcasses trying to steal them, so they're not afraid to eat as much as possible, and if it's winter, summer, spring or the fall, they don't worry at all. But isn't that the perfect little house that they have there? It's a great place to sleep and to rest. Like I say, it's quite warm today. It's about 88 Fahrenheit or 31 degrees Celsius, so too hot to be lying out in the sun. So a shady spot like that is really the best place to be. You can see she's actually got quite a nice view there, looking out over this little sort of ridge that comes down, and she's able to then see if anything is approaching towards her mound. And like I was saying, there's also a breeze that comes down the slope and into that hole and makes it really very, very pleasant. So while we're chatting about the den and this female in her den, Annalie wants to know if hyenas have more than one young one. Yes, they do, Annalie. They have as many as 2. So it's most that they will have. You'll find sometimes they give birth to 1, but most of the time it's 2 of them. And they will grow up together and spend the first few months of their life roaming around this little termite mound. And this female will go back and forth getting food, and at first she'll come back to suckle and give them milk, but after a few months, 4 or 5 months, she's already starting to bring back pieces of meat, and those little ones will feed off the meat. And by the time they're about a year, they are free roaming with her, they're moving around, and they'll travel with her and become a full functioning member of the clan. But the hyenas always have this bad reputation of being ugly, horrible animals. But when you see them like this, they really are quite cute. It looks like a dog just lying in its little hole there. Very, very sweet face. You can see with her that her ears, though, are quite badly damaged. So she's got lots of bite marks on her ears. And that's because she's unfortunately one of our low-ranking females. She's not a female that ranks highly in the clan. And so unfortunately she gets a little bit beaten up by the bigger, stronger females. They tend to bite her ears, and that's just a way of dominating her. So that's why she's so Sophia, that is a really good question. Sophia is asking, why can hyenas bite so hard but their teeth don't fall out? Well, they've got very, very strong teeth, so their teeth are able to bite into bone and things like that, and the power comes from the muscle. And so because the force is coming straight down, the tooth itself is not being moved around too much, and it's not going to hurt. It's planted inside the bone, and so there's not too much movement. If she had to turn too fast, then yes, it can break teeth, and sometimes you will find hyenas with broken teeth, but generally their teeth are very, very strong because of the amount of calcium that they eat. They eat a lot of bone, and so that calcium helps to strengthen those teeth and keep them nice and strong so that they don't break. And like I was saying, all the power for their bite comes in their muscle structure around their head. They have a very special shaped head with a little crest bone and big muscles that attach to that. So that's where all the power for the bite comes from. Alright, so while we sit here with Gwen for a little bit longer and see maybe if one of her young ones will appear, we're going to go to James, who I believe has got a little surprise.
Look everybody, how special this is. I told you there was a little leopard in here, and Brent nearly found her, and then we came in here and we heard some Nyala going, oh, 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 as I said, and we looked up. Oh, I didn't look up, I was looking down, and Viam looked up, and there he saw this very special little leopard. Isn't she lovely? She's just a year old. She's 1 year and 6 days old. So she still lives around with her mother and her brother. We don't know where her mum is, we don't know where her brother is, but they're somewhere around. And we think her mum is probably off hunting, and her brother could be anywhere around here at this stage. Isn't that lovely? This is one of our favourite animals here, everybody. And her name is Shongile. And Shongile means the beautiful one. And she's sitting in the tree there because it's nice and cool. She can see what's going on. It's safe for her to sleep there. And so it's very easy for her to be happy and sleep up there. Kaylee, why do leopards have spots, you say? Now, I want you to think about that and then ask yourself, have you ever seen a soldier, Kaylee? Have you ever seen a soldier in his uniform, in the camouflage uniform? You know, where they've got sort of different colours that look like their surroundings? Well, that's the reason a leopard has got spots. Now, I know it doesn't look to you there like that leopard has got spots that makes it difficult to see. But normally if they're hunting, they're moving through the thick bush, and the light that falls through the leaves and onto the ground makes spots a little bit like that on the ground, and that makes it very difficult for things like the Nyala, which only see in, well, they don't see in colour like you and I see in colour, so they don't see that golden colour. It makes it very similar and makes it very difficult for them to see that cat. Now, Ellie, you want to know how much bigger this leopard will get. Well, this leopard is probably about the size of a big Labrador dog now. She's a year old, like I said. You know what a Labrador is? Like a retriever. And she will probably get about 1.5 times the size. So she probably weighs about 40 pounds now. When she's fully grown, she'll weigh round about 60 pounds, maybe 70 pounds. If she's very big, up to 80 pounds. Genesis, you want to know why or how baby leopards climb into trees so high? I've got 2 answers for you. The first is, I bet that you can climb higher into a tree than your mum or your dad can, because you're young and you've got good muscles for climbing trees, whereas mums and dads, as you know, they're not so good at climbing trees anymore. They don't like to climb trees. The other answer is that they're very strong and they've got very sharp claws. Now, have you ever watched a cat climb a tree? Well, this little leopard is able to climb a tree just as well. And remember, a 1-year-old leopard is not the same as a 1-year-old human being. Remember, I don't know, I'm sure you don't remember when you were 1 year old. I don't remember when I was 1, but that was 39 years ago. When I was 1, I was useless. I could just say a few words, I could sort of walk around a little bit, but I couldn't look after myself. This leopard, if its mum was to leave her alone and she had to then live on her own and survive, she would be absolutely fine. So they grow up much, much, much faster than human beings do. And she's very sleepy. Just like house cats and dogs, they like to sleep a lot in the daytime. They don't have to go to school, you see. Right, let's go back across to Tristan and see if his scavenger is still snoozing.
Indeed, our scavenger is still very much fast asleep, and I don't think she's going to come out there. Given that we're sitting directly in the sun, it is quite warm out here, so I'm pretty sure where she is far better. And like I say, it's still very bright and very early in the afternoon, so she's not going to get up and do too much as yet. It was a gamble to come at this time. I thought that we wouldn't see too much. I thought maybe she'd be buried deep inside there, or wouldn't be lying anywhere near the mound, but we got very, very lucky, and we'll definitely try probably come back a little bit later as well, just to see if maybe she's out with her little ones and to see if there's any sign of the little ones that are with her. But for now, I would imagine everybody's fast asleep, and if the little babies are inside there, they will be sleeping away as well. Now, I know Jamie's had a few sightings of these little ones. She told me that they're a little bit nervous and they tend to move away. So maybe that's why we can't see them. They've tucked themselves deep inside that mound so that we can't see them. And they know that if Mom is lying at the entrance there, there's going to be no problem. So Lydia, they can kill their own species. I have seen hyenas go after one another, and that's generally because out of a territorial thing. So it's if 2 clans come together and they've become into an area that they both deem as theirs, then they will fight with one another and sometimes kill each other. So I have seen that, but in terms of if it's the same clan and it's a member of that clan, very, very seldom will they attack one another. They know that the more that they are of them, the more likelihood they can dominate other animals and other clans and even lions, and they can get themselves to a point where they're able to then hunt lions and be, well, not hunt lions, sorry, but chase lions off their carcasses and get the food from them. So they try and keep as many members in the clan as possible. They don't really want to kill one another, because ultimately they're then going to have very small clans and life is going to be a lot harder. So you'll end up with a situation where they prefer to be in big groups, and so they protect one another as much as possible unless they're from a rival clan. So in the case with this female and why she's so beaten up, it's just because she's lower ranking. So the only reason she's being beaten up is just to establish dominance. It's to make sure that she knows that she's not the dominant female, and those dominant females will be the ones that have access to food more than the others. They will also get their babies more food. as well. So Blakey, with the hyenas and giving birth, and you want to know how long it will be until the little ones can leave their mothers. Well, generally they kind of stick around within the clan and don't distribute out too much, especially if they're a female. And so normally they are with the moms throughout their life if they're a little girl. Sometimes you'll find the males will distribute out or a female and go and start their own clan, but that's quite rare. But in terms of being out of the mound and not dependent on their mother anymore, it's normally at about 8 months to a year is when they are no longer dependent. And look at those teeth. Aren't they incredible? You can see her teeth are quite worn, so she's quite an old girl. Let's see if she's going to come out. She's busy sniffing, and wouldn't it be nice if she did come out? No, I think just readjusted. Maybe she was sleeping on one of her feet and her foot went to sleep, and so she just repositioned. Well, Jade is wondering how she's still alive, given that she's quite beaten up and she is quite old with those worn teeth. Well, Jade, hyenas are very efficient animals and they are very resilient and tough, and so she will still be scavenging of all kinds of things. And so let's say a leopard kills an impala and they eat that impala for a few days, and there's a little bit of bone and meat that's left over. They will then come in and eat that bone and meat that's 3-4 days old, and so at the end of the day they will utilize any bit of nutrients that they can. So it's not just about catching fresh food. They find food all over the place. They'll even eat little tortoises, insects if they have to, terrapins, which are the little freshwater turtles, and they'll go after anything to keep themselves sustained and healthy. Well, Mia, given that she's sleeping, Mia wants to know that whether or not they are nocturnal. So most of their activity is at night. Generally it will be the time of day where it's cooler, so they can move big distances. It's also when they know that the predators are going to be more active, so you're going to have a situation where leopard and lion are a little bit more active, and so it's times when they can follow those cats hunting. But hyenas can be active during the day. I have seen them active in bright sunlight in the middle of the day, particularly if they hear something. So we were talking about those big ears. If they pick up some sort of sound of an animal dying or predators fighting over something, then they'll go rushing in, even if it's the middle of the day. But they really are only very active at night. That's when they actively will go look around for things. So Jack and Sawyer, you want to know whether this female could potentially look after other mothers' babies. Well, not directly, so she's not going to come and suckle those other babies or provide milk for them, but she will provide protection for them. And if they are a high-ranking puppy, or cub is the correct term for them, then she will actually drag bits of meat back to the den, and she'll hope that her young ones will get some of that. But if they are higher ranking cubs, they'll get to feed first off that, and so they do indirectly help raise. And because of the clan structure, they're going to protect this den area and make sure that those young ones are protected all the time. So they help in that regard, but they don't provide any milk for them to feed them when they are very, very small. That will only be for the mother. And you'll find if the little one comes and it's not for hers, she'll actually chase it away and only wait until her little ones come before she allows them to suckle. But look at that face, isn't she cute? Like I say, they get such a bad reputation and they always get made out to be horrible, ugly animals, but I really like them. Cecilia, you want to know whether or not the hyenas drink human milk like us? No, they don't. Unfortunately, they don't have a shop that they can go to go and buy the milk like we do. So the milk comes from their mom. The mother will start to produce milk when she gives birth to them, and then they will come and they will basically suckle from their mother, and they will gain the milk from that. And they need their mother's milk because their mother's milk has lots of little organisms and bacterias inside it that will help them be able to digest and to be able to strengthen their immune system. So it's like if you take your vitamins, it's basically the same thing. They're getting all their vitamins from their mother, as well as microbes and bacteria that help just to digest all the things that they're going to eat later and keep them from getting sick. Alright guys. So we're probably going to move on from Gwen and leave her resting, and we'll come back a little bit later and see if she's active. And while we do that, we're going to go across to Brent, who's on his bushwalk and has another little small spotted surprise.
Well, it seems to be an afternoon of spotted creatures. Spotted hyena, a spotted leopard, and now a genet. Now, a genet is related to the mongoose. They are normally nocturnal, but I think this genet is hungry and hunting birds in the tree. I'm going to try sneak a little bit closer, see if we can get a slightly better view. Now, they are ferocious little hunters, genets. They're very pretty and very, very cool, and I'm hoping we can get a view of its very pretty face. Now, they are able to climb trees, they do hunt on the ground, they eat insects, scorpions, spiders, but their favorite is birds and bird eggs. And can you have a look up there? You can just see those very pink ears. Can you see him? And let's go to the side of it. He's looking at us. You can just see the pink of the ears. Do you see the pink of the ears? So there it is, looking down on us. You got him, Craig?
No, I'm too close.
Just come this way. And then right up there. There we go. So we're just trying to get him in focus now. Where is he hiding? I think you a bit too far. Wait, just slow down. Okay, so there we go, a little bit to the left. A little bit more to the left. Okay, a little bit more to the left. Up slightly. Oh, he's moved. Oh no, he's still there. Let's try from a bit further back. Maybe it'll be a bit easier to spot. So, Craig, you see the last big Y. He's on the left of the Y. Okay, a little bit down. There he is. There he is. You can just see those ears picking out through the bush there. Oh, they are very, very cute. And I actually had one as a pet while I was growing up, believe it or not. Her name was Genevieve. Sarah Lynn's wondering, do they hunt in the night or the morning? Mostly at night, Sarah Lynn, but like all predators, they are true opportunists and will hunt at any time of the day. Aha, now that's actually where we should have come from the first place. There's the best view of that little genet who's having a little rest. Now, I think this genet's out in the open because of those leopards cubs that are around here, and you've seen little Shongile with James, and we're busy tracking her little brother Hosanna, and I think he might have chased this little genet up to the top of this tree. They are very, very cool little critters. So about a little bit bigger than a possum, but obviously behaviorally far closer to a weasel or a stoat, but they are incredible. I've actually seen them leap and chase squirrels. They also hunt squirrels sometimes. So they are very, very active little hunters. Although when it's hot like this, they're having a nap. Okay, well, it seems a few of you are getting a little confused between the leopard and the genet. The genet is small, related to mongooses, about this big. The leopard is about this big, so like a big dog. A leopard is a cat. A genet, as I said, is part of the Viviridae family, the mongoose mustardae or mongoose weasel family. So very, very different and very, very full very different niches. A leopard is a predator of medium to small sized antelope. A genet is a predator of birds and bugs. So they are very cool. But we're going to keep tracking a leopard to see if we can find Shongile's brother Hosanna on foot. I think he's hiding somewhere here, and I think he might have chased that genet up the tree. Now, Jill is wondering, how does the genet climb up so high? Well, just like any climbing animal, using its claws and its legs. And they've got that lovely long tail for a bit of balance. Now, because a genet's so small, quite a few things eat it, and Jadale's wondering what. So quite a lot of your big birds, your eagles, your owls, and I've even seen leopard eat genet before. So you can see we're moving along a little dry riverbed here, and this is great leopard country. So we were very close to James when he found that leopard. So we're probably only about 200 yards from him now, and we're looking for the second leopard. So there are 2 cubs, and the other one is down here. Now, Varananda is wondering, do genets sleep in trees? Yes, they do. And that's what that one's doing. It's nice and safe there. It's quite a thick tree, so the birds won't see him. And it's too skinny for the leopards to get to him. So, as I said a little bit earlier, genets are mostly nocturnal animals, so they sleep during the day. But like all predators, they are opportunists. Craig, there's a big hole behind you, don't want to fall down. They are opportunists, so if something came close to them, they would hunt at any time of the day, but normally they sleep during the day and hunt at night. So now we're coming up to a grove of big trees, and it's the same type of tree that other leopard's sleeping in. So there's a good chance that that little male leopard could be sleeping up here. Now, Charlie was wondering whether genets are aggressive like raccoons. Well, they're wild animals, Charlie, and if you corner them, all wild animals will be aggressive. If you leave them alone in their natural habitat, they'll be fine, and genets are more scared of us than we are of them. Now, you never know what you're going to find on the bushwalk, and we're going to say goodbye to all the wonderful schools that joined us, but before we do that, oh no, see there? There's some impala antelope watching us from the opposite bank. So goodbye to the schools, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Hi everyone, welcome, and as you can see, we're on Bushwalk. My name is Brent Smith. I have Craig on camera, and James just beat us to that leopard. We were actually running into the area to go find Shongile on foot. We heard them barking, but James got there a little bit sooner. So now we're looking for Hyena. Rexon and I think he's somewhere in this area, but obviously with those impalas sitting up there, unlikely. So what we're going to do is we're going to start zigzagging through the riverine thickets and hoping we can find him. But while we do that, I just still want to have a good look in these lovely big jackalberries up ahead. The jackalberry, oh! Well, definitely I don't think Hyena, the terror of terrapins, is here, because there's some more antelope down there. And Nyala just spotted us. Hello, Nyala. Oh dear. Oh dearie me. Now I don't know which one it is, but I'm presuming it's the leopard I was looking for, and it seems like James has beaten me to the punch again this afternoon. Let's go find out.
There, everybody, is a female leopard, most likely the mother of Xongile. We left Xongile sitting in the tree, fast asleep, almost invisible, and then the staff transport leaving the reserve found this leopard crossing the road, and we think that it's Karula on the hunt. Now look how carefully she's walking through the bushes there. She's in full stalk, and it's so distinct from a territorial marking movement. Completely silent, trying to stay in the grass. We saw Nyala down to where she is going now. This is interesting. I wonder if she doesn't know that Nyala's there. And I wonder if she's not walking around the wind towards it. Okay, it's quite far from here. Give me 1 sec. I can go around this side of her. She seems to have seen something, unless she's looking. There she is. She is pulling what I like to term now her Pooh Bear look. Oops, daisies, I broke the law there. Did you hear that, everybody? Now what she's doing is, I don't think she spotted anything. I think she's just kind of maybe got wind of something here and is easing through the bush to see if she can't find it. Look, she's turned her nose to the wind. Alright, we're going to stay with this leopard. Tristan's got something that I think might disappear quite soon, so let's just head across there. It's got very rare pigment.
So unfortunately it did disappear, as is our run of form from yesterday with the birds. We had a beautiful green pigeon that flew away. I'm just trying to see if I can see where it landed, but I don't think we're going to find it. It looked like it flew quite far. It was sitting quite nicely on an open branch, and generally green pigeons actually are not really too much on the open branches. They typically like to be in thicker areas. So alas, it is gone. That's the way it goes. Have these moments. I was hoping we could catch up with Brent a little bit, so try to see if we can get some more birds this afternoon. We are going to head down towards Cheetah Plains, which is always a good place for birds, as well as having a little lookout for any sign of the Cheetah brothers, or even in Kanyeni, Quarantine. Try to see if there's any sign of them down that way. It seems when it comes to birds, our luck has not changed yet. They seem to like to disappear as we get going. Alright, so it seems James has been able to reposition and has a great view of Karula, so we're going to go back to him and see how it is.
She looks pretty hungry to me, everybody. What a lovely shot for him. Now, she's seen something now. She's moving very slowly through here. Now, I'm just going to tell you, it's very thick in here, which means we are going to be uber careful of making too much noise, breaking too many branches with the car, starting the car unnecessarily. I don't know what she's seen, but she has not been killing very big stuff of late, so it could be something little like a steenbok, a duiker. And if there's one thing a steenbok or duiker doesn't like, it's a vehicle making noise around it. She could easily have spotted that young male Nyala that we saw down here. And please remember to ask us questions. Hashtags for our live questions at WildEarthTV. You can ask questions, make comments, tell us if you think she's going to catch anything, what do you think she wants to catch, where she's going to go to catch it. She's definitely seen something out there. She's being very patient, and she's turning now to try and see if she can't figure out a better route towards whatever it is. I think she's coming round the wind. Isn't that gorgeous through the grass? Now remember, last chance, 2 days left to get your t-shirts. Go to the royalbirthday.wildearth.tv and you will be able to buy a t-shirt of that leopard and her 2 cubs, hand-drawn by the great Graham Wallington, artiste extraordinaire. Listen, or at least sticking her tail up in the air like that. That's because there's a bird, there's a chin-spot batis alarm calling at her. So she's flicked up her tail in sort of surrender. So you can get that t-shirt. Otherwise, you can buy a high-resolution image for the price of your choice. Yes, that's what I said, the price of your choice. Now, Roshni, you're wondering how we identify different leopards. Roshni, we do that any number of ways, but the main one is to just say to you that leopards, of course, don't change their spots. She's just in front of us, and that means that they all have unique spot patterns, and those unique spot patterns allow us to identify them. In her case, she's got the spot pattern spells the word wow across the front of her forehead, so that's quite easy to recognize. The researchers normally do it on the whisker spot pattern, so there's a spot pattern of or a line of spots just above the whisker line. She's supposed to be a 3-4 female, which means she's got 3 on her right hand side, our left, and then 4 on the other side. If you look very carefully at her, she's actually 4 and 5. So that's often not a particularly accurate way of looking. Then you can look at the chest here. The chest got a sort of necklace on it, and that's got a different spot pattern that's unique to each leopard. So it really just does depend. Any kind of distinguishing spot mark is a good way to check. Things like how damaged their ears are and that sort of stuff, not a great way of checking, and that's simply because, of course, as they get older, their ears get more and more mangled. She's given up on whatever she was going after there, and she's now on the road. Hello, Susie. You say you have a question for me and you want to know how I feel watching this wonderful leopard hunt. Susie, I feel a number of things. Relief, first of all, because we had a morning of really abject poor luck today, and trying to find her and her offspring failed. So I'm very pleased to have her with us. Then I just always feel a sense of sort of awe when I'm around this leopard. She's just gorgeous. And especially as the afternoon light starts to sink, it's largely awe and a privilege, I guess. I mean, she really is quite perfect. I'm just going to call this in. Stations Karula's mobile north up Aubrey's Road now, 1 station here. And of course we want to see where she goes, because for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure that can't be any of you, some of you might have been here or might only be here because of our TV shows. We need to find out where these leopards are. They're the stars of our 8-week TV series, The Royal Family, Karula Xongile and Hosanna. And if you haven't been watching the TV shows, well, goodness, where have you been? Sunday evenings, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Nat.Geo Wild is where you'll find us. And these chaps, but for last week, have been in every single show and performed amazingly well. Now, this is brilliant news. Brent has very cleverly snuck himself on foot into a position where he can see Shongile. Go and take a look.
Well, couldn't let James have all the fun. No, we are still looking for Hosanna, and there were some testiculars alarm calling in the riverbed, and they're definitely not alarm calling at her, because as you can see, she's still fast asleep. And I'm still convinced Hosanna's in this area somewhere. But isn't this so cool? She is so wonderful on foot. She is just so relaxed. Look, I mean, look at her sleeping there. I don't think that looks very comfortable. And I'm pretty sure she can hear my voice, and she's quite well aware that we're here. Now, if she's sleeping there, I'm hoping that young Hosanna is sleeping somewhere close by. I'm going to keep moving a little bit. I want to see if we can get a slightly different view on her, and at the same time I'm checking for Hosanna, who there's lots of birds alarm calling, and they're definitely not alarm calling at Xongile. She's not moving, she's sleeping in the tree. So I think the terror of terrapins is moving around here somewhere. But let's have a look from this angle. Now, she's over there in the tree. Oh, Jennifer says this is fantastic. I agree. Now, young Hassan is probably stalking us for all we know. So that's why we're just staying on this nice high ground here. And I'm just looking down. I'm trying to just catch a spot. Those birds are alarm calling in the sort of behind that big termite mound. Obviously, of course, I don't want to disturb Xongile. She looks so comfortable. So I'm just going to move a little bit further around and go down and see if we can find Hosanna. Hopefully he tires of chasing birds, which I think he's doing at the moment, and also decides it's time for a rest. Oh my goodness. Carrot seed grass. Oh, is that my... No, that's not a pepper tick. For some reason they don't like me, but the carrot seed grass gets stuck on everything and is quite itchy. But anyway, a small price to pay for seeing leopards on foot. Remember, hashtag Safari Live if you want to ask us any questions, or pop us an email to questions@WildEarthTV. Now, quickly here, Craig. Just before, now have a look down there. You see those birds hopping about? There we go. Another one for the February list. Have you got them? Okay, see this fallen tree that flows up into the other bank? There's two crested barbets. No, there's one to the right that's out in the open. There, see it? There we go. There we go. Hello, crested barbet. Watch out. Hosanna the terror is about. As I said, we're going to head down into the river system here, keeping a fair distance from young Xongile. We don't want to disturb her, and see if we can find that errant brother of hers. Now, while we sneak down here, Tristan's still trying to play catch up on the bird game on Cheetah Plains.
We are indeed trying to play catch up, but the birds are not really helping too much. So instead, we've come down to this beautiful little waterhole and found ourselves 2 hippos that are busy. Oh, 3 hippos, should I say? Sorry, there was only 2 when we first arrived. There is now 3 of them. Looks like a big male in the front left there, and a female and a young one. But I don't know if you can hear the absolute flurry of noise that's coming just on the other side of the dam. There's, I think, a whole bunch of weavers that are busy building their nests. So we're going to go and see if we can get some action there now after we've been with these hippos. But these hippos obviously had a good walk last night when we were driving along here. There's tracks for them all over the place. So they've been out and about last night feeding and found their way in here. And like I said, this is the male that's closest to us. You can see his head is just so much larger than the other 2. And as I say that, he drops underneath. Typical hippo. Now they'll be waiting for the sun to go down and for it just to get a little bit cooler before they start to come out. Don't you just love their ears? I always love when they go down and they come up and they flick their ears and water goes everywhere. It really is quite special. So Hannah, this is actually quite a small pod. Hippo pods are very variable. You get different size pods all over the place. But at the moment, after the drought that we had, most of the hippos had to leave this area because most of these dams and water holes unfortunately dried out and the hippos had nowhere to go. And so their numbers became less and less in this particular area. And so at the moment, small groups of hippos like this is the norm. That's what we're seeing mostly. As summer goes on and we get more rain and there's little places that the hippos can move and link to one another, so we'll then end up in a situation where the pods might get a little bit larger. But at this stage, it really is just small little groupings in these small water sources that we see here. But it is very, very variable on weather conditions and where they can find water. And they're quite active actually, they're moving around quite a bit. They're coming to investigate us, so they've come a little bit closer and just to see what we're up to and see what we're doing. Often are very inquisitive animals. They like to know what's going on the edge of their little water source. And they will be very calm with us as long as we stay where we are. If we had to start going into the water itself, it might be a different reaction. But on the edge here, they know that they are very safe in that water and that we're not posing any threat by being on land. So they're pretty happy with where we are and just want to come and check us out and make sure we're not anything to worry about too much. Now, behind the hippos on the bank there is a bird called a blacksmith lapwing. I'm not sure, Nev, if you're watching, if I've recorded this one already or not, but there it is there. I know we had them on the Arathusa airstrip last week, but I can't remember if we got them live or not. But very pretty bird, and you find these guys often around water, these little blacksmith lapwings, and you can hear it ticking away there, and that's where it gets its name. It sounds like a blacksmith hitting metal. They are very, very pretty birds as well, with those greys, blacks, and a little white crown. Very pretty. Now the hippos have all ducked under the water, so I'm just going to reposition slightly. Try to see if we can get a visual on these weavers that are making so much noise and frantically flying up and down. It really is quite something to watch them build a nest. You can actually see them just in front of me here, these little yellow birds that are flying around. It's a hive of activity, and there we go, you can actually see their nests and them hanging and the male birds busy weaving. Isn't that incredible? So just over on this tree over here, over the water, the males are busy going back and forth. There we go. And you can see all the brightly colored ones are the males, the little bit drab colored ones are the females. And so what the males are doing is they are busy weaving their nest, as the name suggests. They get strands of grass, and you can see, look at that one on top, it's busy breaking off a piece there. Now it potentially could have been an old nest that it built that the female didn't like, and so it's broken that down, or it's a piece of bark that it's able to pull up, and it's quite it's almost like twine, and then it's going to build that into the nest. So let's watch what it does. But look at how incredible that is. It's twisting it basically to try and break it off, and then back we go. And you can see his nest is a little bit shabby at the moment, but they'll neaten it up as they go. They get neater and neater. That is absolutely amazing. So they look like southern masked weavers. They've got that red eye. I must just check and make 100% sure. It's been so long since I've seen the weavers nesting like this. Last year we had very few weavers nesting. They unfortunately, because of the lack of water, a lot of them like to nest over water, and because of the lack of water we saw very few of them nesting. There was areas that they generally like to nest, and fortunately there wasn't. Now I just want to check, it's got to check the black around the face, because the red eye is on the village weaver and the southern mast, and they actually are village weavers, which is probably very typical. I should have known that because they are nesting over water, but I have seen both types of weavers and even the lesser mast weaver in amongst them, so they do sometimes utilize areas over water. But the village, or old name was the spotted back weaver, this is a typical place that they will nest. Isn't that amazing? So you can see the slightly older nest, the grasses have dried out and become brown, and the newer ones are those bright green grasses. And like I say, if the female comes along, she does a little inspection of that nest, and if that nest is not up to scratch, then she just breaks it down and he has to start all over again. So tough to be a male weaver, a lot of effort that goes in. And it's quite amazing to watch the frantic pace that they work. They literally are flying back and forth. Luckily, they have a nice area to harvest really nice grass close by. So they're flying just off from that tree and down towards the bank here. You can see if you follow them coming along. And then just in front of us over here, in this area, there's some beautiful grasses that they're busy picking up there. And then back they go, and they go and weave it into the nest. But absolutely unbelievable. You can watch, you see there's that loose piece of grass that's being sewn in, and so they use their beak. Now that one's still in the early stages of building its nest. You can see it's quite thin still, lots of little bits of grass that are sticking out, but slowly but surely he's going to weave that through and close that all up and get all those little pieces that are out, tucked in, and make a really nice, neat little nest. There we go. Isn't that incredible? Could honestly spend hours watching them. Like I say, it's just so amazing how incredibly efficient they are at it and how quick they build these nests. It's a matter of a day or two that they get a basic structure up, and within sort of 3-4 days that nest is complete. So a huge amount of work that goes into it, and they feverishly will go about their business doing it. But it's so nice just sitting here and listening to them as well. Kind of got the hippos breathing heavily in the background, and then the weavers going absolutely crazy. Now, I have seen these weavers build nests like this, and it's often a good place to come and look for snakes. Sometimes you'll find things like boom slungs, which is a tree snake, or even black mambas, and they'll come along these branches and try get to the nest, knowing full well that there will be little chicks inside there that are defenseless. So the reason why a lot of the weavers build over water is because the snakes typically don't really want to go and fall into the water. They know that there's things like catfish and crocodiles here, so they don't want to fall into the water, and so they tend to opt not to go out into those very flimsy branches over water. Also, you can see this is a very sharp, thorny tree, and so that will also deter the snakes somewhat. So a clever tree that they've utilized. Isn't that noise incredible? Amazing. Very, very, very cool. So while it's only one species of weaver, it's probably one of my best bird sightings we've had this week. That's incredible. Alright, so while we watch this bustling and huge amount of activity, we're going to go across to Brent and see if he's managed to stalk a little bit closer to Xongile.
Well, we got distracted. We heard a squirrel alarming, Franklin's alarming, very close to where Xongile was, and we scuttled off, hoping to find Hosana. But, alas, it was a Wahlberg eagle. But we're now sneaking, ever so sneakily, to get a front view of young Xongile. At the same time, I'm still convinced that that little rugrat, Hosana, is somewhere close by. So I said we don't want to disturb it, we don't want it to run down the tree, so we're taking a nice wide loop through. Of course, we do know she is nice and relaxed on foot. Their tracks are everywhere around here. Isn't this just exciting? There's something amazing about being with an apex predator on foot. And, I don't know, with these little leopard cubs, there's just such a feeling of warmth. So she's in that big tree over there. I'm just going to go around. There's a nice little sort of sandy patch where we can walk very quietly, where the rain's washed sand down here. Oh, sorry, Craig. Craig, go for it. There we go. You can see the sand I was talking about. Okay, well, of course, Craig's got this big aerial, and we're just going to have to duck down to get through this spot where we can walk quietly. So while we get into position, let's go to James with the Queen Mum.
Look at that beautiful picture of the leopard there. She's on the hunt still and moving slowly along. Mike, stand by there. Look left, Mike. So I'm just trying to get Mike into the sighting. Right, there she is. Now, I want to just keep my distance. Now, I don't know if you remember, but just through here, we had the Nkahuma Pride on a buffalo kill not too long ago. This is wonderful stuff. I just can't believe how beautiful she looks walking through the bush like that. Now you can see how clever her colour is in vegetation like this. Maybe it's just the fact that she looks so good, I don't know. But I just think that her colour, walking through this grass that's turned from verdant green in the space of about 3 days, it's turned to quite sort of browny gold because of the lack of rain. It's just wonderful to watch a leopard walk through colours like this. And I'm scanning constantly to see if there isn't something that she wants to stalk. If there is, then we will obviously stop and just let her have at it. It's very bright in my eyes, everybody. Do excuse my hat and the noise that it made when I moved it into this rather jaunty position. How do I look, Vim? I look good, thank you. There she goes. Mike, come in. Mike, confirm you saw me? Yeah, she's still mobile away from the road. Yeah, we're a long way from there. Just follow my tracks in. Sorry, I'm just helping Mike get in. Now, if you're wondering what that ruffling noise is sometimes, my microphone is in my hat. And so every time I move... Oh, wow, look at this picture. Every time I move my hat, so it goes... You still see her, then? Oh, she's on the tree. Gee whiz. That is spectacular. there we go. And all of you think she's so very beautiful. Well, all of you would be completely right, of course. She is so very beautiful. Especially sitting in a tree like that. Richard, I'd say no, not quite. You say, are we able to recognize leopards' faces in the same way that we recognize human beings' faces? No, I don't think so, Richard. I think it's much more difficult than that, personally. And it's more difficult because we're not used to looking or recognizing the different features on their faces. We're not psychologically developed to do that. And so when you look at a leopard's face, you really got to look carefully in order to see the differences. Once you become familiar with them, however, yes, then you absolutely start to see the differences. But I still see her sometimes, and I have to just make sure that I'm looking at the right thing, that I'm not looking at a different leopard. But once you've seen them a few times, then yes, you can recognize them. But they don't have individual faces like humans do. Or, in fact, the only animal out here, I think, that has a face as individual as a human being's, quite interestingly, is a buffalo. Buffalo faces are all different, and buffalo much more easily identifiable, I think. These cats are not obviously different from each other until you know them quite well. Oh, she's just lovely, isn't she? Now, what I want to just try and do, shall we try the other side? Or do you think she'll move by then?
Probability that she will move is quite high.
It is, but can you imagine getting her with that sky that we have behind her? We're going to try. And while we... Oh, no. Here we go. She's moving down. Let's head across to Brent. He's managed to extricate his cameraman from a bush.
Now, this is amazing. So, we didn't have any luck with Osana, so we've snuck back to Shongile, and we are no more than 20 meters from the tree she's in. And she knows we're here, very much so, but she's closed her eyes and she's gone back to sleep. So she doesn't mind our presence at all, which for me is absolutely incredible. Hello, beautiful. Oh, she's tired, kitty. This is one of the most rare things to be able to do in the African bush. I mean, she knows exactly where we are. She's actually moved from where she was with James. Now she's lying on a branch out in this golden light, and we're 20 meters from her. Now, this is the product of some very good and very hard, sometimes, habituation work. Now, it takes time for animals to get this relaxed, and the fact that we're out here on bushwalk and Rex has found something. Rex has found a hat. Oh, it's quite a nice one. I think I might keep this. This has been here for a while. I think it's been stood on by an elephant even. Oh, were you playing with it, Shongilolo? No, you're just napping. So, remember hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. One word. What would you feel like if you were 20 meters away from a year-old leopard cub on foot and she was taking no notice of you and just going about her business? Hashtag Safari Live. One word on Twitter. How would this make you feel? Oh, I can tell you what my one word is. Ecstatic. Absolutely ecstatic. Craig, what's your one word? Craig's a man of few words. It's good. Delightful. There we go. We're just trying to look. Unfortunately, with the bushwalk antenna, it's quite hard to maneuver around here. There we go. Zoe says stunning. Couldn't agree with you more. And I think that the most amazing thing is that she's feeling comfortable enough to sleep. And when I started whispering, but I mean, this is part of the habituation process. I'm now talking normally, and she's still completely calm, completely nonplussed by our presence. So we are going to leave the little Shongile to her afternoon slumber. Unfortunately, our battery is starting to give us a little bit of problems, so this is going to be our last segment, but it has been fun. I know I didn't quite find the leopards. James found it and I came afterwards, but I think I'll forgive myself this time. Who knows, next time maybe we'll find them by ourselves. But we're going to give you one last look at that exquisite leopard in golden light, and while we do that, Tristan has managed to find something a lot bigger than little Xongile on Cheetah Plains. It's nice.
Well, we did have visual of it, but unfortunately they've gone into thick bush. We're going to try to see if we can get a little bit closer to them, but it is a herd of elephants, and I'm quite excited to see them. I was driving away from the dam and saying to Dave, I was hoping that there would be some ellies at the dam, and as we said that, on our left hand side was some elephants. Now, the area that we're in is probably the longest grass that I have seen in the last 2 years. I haven't seen grass like this for a long time. So it just shows how much more rain we've had down in this section than we did up in Djuma. And the ellies are absolutely loving it. They're taking their trunks and just pulling up huge swathes of grass as they go. The problem is it's not easy to off-road here because everything is hidden. So you can't see any stumps. So I'm going to just try to see this. You can just see them moving through there. As I say, it's a little bit of a thick area, so we're going to just try to see. Now, obviously Rusty had a bit of an issue this morning with his steering rod, and it was changed and everything was sorted out. So we're going to try to be gentle. I know Brent gets very attached to Rusty, so I'm going to try to look after it for him and make sure that we don't do anything like that. Awfully thick in here, and they are quite mobile. So we're going to try one more time just to see if we can get a visual. If not, I'm not going to pressurize them too much.